Hey guys, um, here I am with some more Power BI stuff. Okay, in this exercise or in this how to, I'm going to show you guys how to create a dynamic title. So the goal of this thing, I want this sales by manufacturer to change as we select different manufacturers of these various sewing machines. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start by creating a slicer. The slicer will let us pick a specific manufacturer, and then based on that selection in the slicer, the title over here in our sales by manufacturer will change. It will say like sales by Kenmore or Singer or Morse or whatever, right? Okay, so that's what we're going to do. First step is that we need to create a slicer. So to create the slicer, we're going to pick our manufacturer, and then we're going to pick slicer. All right, here we go. We've got a basic slicer here. Do some formatting if you want. I want to change it over to be a dropdown. You used to do that by clicking on more options here. Not anymore. Or it was actually in this little down caret, but that's not the case anymore. It changed in recent versions. So luckily, Power BI guides us. It says go to Format, Slicer Options, Options Style. So let's do that. Here's our format. Painter, right? We're going to go to slicer settings, and the style I want is drop down. Cool. Got that. Let's give it a little border, make it look fancy. We're going to go over here, visual border. Let's turn that on. Color. Pick the color that you want. I'm going to go with the light gray. And maybe we'll, I don't know, shrink it a little bit. Maybe we want to give it some rounded corners. Play around with it. Have some fun. Okay, so we got our slicer here, right? Boom, cool. Oh, I also want to have it so that I can select multi-select, and I can do a select all. So we're going to go back here, slicer settings. We're going to expand selection, and let's do a show select all. There we go. So we can do this. We can click on one. Cool. We can hold control and click on multiples. So ideally, when we select multiples, it's going to change here and say sales by 3 manufacturers or sales by, if only one is selected, it will report back the name of the specific manufacturer that we select. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We got our slicer. That's going to be critical to the DAX formula that we're going to use to create a measure. That's right. We're going to create a measure with DAX. And that DAX, or usually measures are numbers, they're numerical values, they're doing calculations. In this case, it's going to be a text measure. And those text measures can then be used and integrated into the titles using the formula expression builder. So, okay, we got the slicer. Cool. Now we're going to right click on our table here, right click, and we're going to select new measure. We're then going to go, and I have a little code snippet that's ready for us. So we're going to go back to our Confluence page over here. And in the Confluence page here, let's go grab the code snippet that we have. It's right here. This is something that we can play around with. We're going to walk through this real quick. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and then go back here. Here's our expression builder. Let's get rid of this thing. Boom. We're going to slap it in here. Okay. So what this expression is doing, the stuff in double quotes, like the sales price information for space, double quote. These are literal, right? So it's going to start the text string with this literal phrase, sales price information for space. Then we're going to do an if, right? So if you remember the if syntax, first we do an if, and then we do a logical test, and then a comma, then the true value, comma, false value, right? So we've got some nested ifs because we want to make it more complicated. So first we do a if, and we check to see if the rows, like the total row count that we have, is equal to 0. If that is true, that's this argument. So if it's true, it's going to say all manufacturers. Now this next section here is if it's false. So if it's false, it's going to do another if test, right? So again, so we're talking about if it is greater, if our row count is greater than 0, then first we do a total row count. And if it's greater than 1, then, so this is the test for this nested if. So if it's greater than 1, then it's going to do a count rows of the sales and service. So this table here, which I suspect is not going to be right, but we're just checking for functionality here. So it's going to count the total number of rows here and report that back and say I know off the top of my hand that there's a total of 42 rows. Not right, but I mean, it's right for what it is, but not right for the total number of manufacturers. But it will say for 42 rows. Otherwise, if we select less than 1, or if it's not greater than 1, so 1 or less, then it will just give us the specific manufacturer that we select. That's when we feed it that selected value. So that's why we created that slicer initially off of the manufacturer, right? Because that's the value that it's going to feed in when we select only 1. Close it out with some closing parens. Boom, we're good to go. Hit the check mark to check the syntax. Make sure everything's working right. Okay, we got that. So if we go down here, here's that little measure that we created. Let's check the syntax or the format of it. Look at that. Power BI is smart enough to know that it's a text value. Cool. Most measures will show up as a numerical value, not this guy. All right. So now we want to go and change the title of this visualization that we have. Let me slide this over here. All right. To do that, select the visualization first. Then we're going to click on our format painter. Once we do that, click on General, and then we're going to expand title. Normally Power BI is smart enough and it just kind of creates a title with the X and the Y's, and it just bakes them all together and makes you a title. We're going to get rid of that. So we're going to hit this function, so the FX button. And then in this, what field should we base this on? This is where we're going to select the measure that we just created. So we're going to go down here. Here it is, title, sales price by manufacturer. So we do that. We hit OK. Check that out. Okay. So this is where we didn't select any. It gives us all the row counts in this table. Awesome. Now let's select just one. Look at that. It changes over to Bernina. If we select another one, it's going to give us 2. So far, it seems like it's working right. But if we select Kenmore, I know that in this data, there's like, I don't know, 10 or 12 Kenmores. So I suspect that this is when it's going to blow up. Yeah, there it goes. So the reason why it should just say 3 manufacturers. We need to create another table based on this that's called the manufacturing table, and then have the distinct number of manufacturer or the distinct manufacturer names over there, and kind of start to build out a star schema. We don't have that yet. So it's just giving us the total row count in the sales and service table based on these 3 manufacturers that we've selected. It works good enough for some rudimentary testing. Is it accurate? No, but our syntax, the DAX syntax for this title expression works just like we told it to. All right, hit me up if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.